All right.
It's 11 p.m. on February 18th, 2011. The Colorado Avalanche have quietly been burning the midnight oil working on a blockbuster trade call that would send rookie defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk and rising forward Chris Stewart to the St. Louis Blues in return for former first overall pick Eric Johnson and veteran forward Jay McClement, as well as a pick swap for both teams. They didn't know it at the time, and it would take years for this to come to fruition and success for both teams, but this would ultimately set both of these teams up to win a Stanley Cup. This is the Eric Johnson trade tree. Welcome in. This is the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We got AJ, we got Biggie, we got Rudo coming to you live. Go check out the EJ Trade Tree video if you haven't watched it already. Taking a page out of that book, just because, if you didn't know, there is just about every possible way you could acquire or get rid of a player in that EJ Trade Tree. It's kind of ridiculous. There are guys that retired on the spot. There are guys that have their contracts terminated. There even includes picks moved on as compensation for both a coach and an offer sheet in that trade tree. So, yeah, just about every way you could move an asset exists in that video. And we're going to look into that not quite so heavily. The current Colorado Avalanche haven't been quite so adventurous with their player acquisition types. But we're going to take a look at the entire Avalanche roster as is currently constructed. And we're going to break down how the Avs built themselves currently, and maybe more importantly, where some of the contract values are at for some of these players, because I think it is an interesting conversation right now. I'm sure you guys have seen on Twitter or otherwise some of those graphics out there about what a player's contract value is in this, let's call it an evolving era of the salary cap in the NHL. So we'll dig into that. We'll talk about how we feel about some of these guys on the Avalanche. Yeah, this is... I didn't think I'd be saying this late into August. And, you know, they did at least sign Kiviranta the other week. So they are progressing, but there still is work to be done for Colorado, right? This roster is not complete. My question for you guys to start things off, though, is do we think there are more straight up signings or trades or direct moves made by Colorado this offseason, or do we expect things like PTOs and maybe some more creative ways to fill out these last roster spots?
I think there's a trade left. I think that there's a trade for a center coming. The hard part is going to be finding a team that's willing to move on from a center in late August or early September, right before they're getting going. But I do think that there's one left, and then, yeah, I think there will be a PTO or two. Just because you look at the free agent market, there's a handful of guys out there that would make plenty of sense that would work. That you could say, oh, this fills this job or that job. But frankly, at this point, I don't think there's a significant amount of work left. 11 forward spots are spoken for. That counts LOC, who will miss the first month of the season. And then 7 defensemen. The 7 defensemen that are on Puckpedia right now are going to be 7 defensemen that are going to be on the Avalanche roster, barring
A lefty.
one of them. Well, barring one of them being used in a trade, and then
Sure.
which is basically Sam Malinsky. That's the only that's the only one. So I don't think there's a lot of work left to be done here. The Kiviranta signing kind of firmed up, like, okay, your camp battle is going to be your 12th, 13th, 14th forward pecking order. And as we know, the Avalanche have long been comfortable skirting, like, hey, we'll we'll go with 12 forward for a little while.
Yeah.
Especially because they're going to be accruing cap this year. I think that is a major consideration for how we view the opening night roster. Paper transactions. I don't think the changes to paper transactions take effect this year, right? I think it's
Not
in
till
the
next
next
September.
CBA.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Avs can still do the abuse the hockey highway. They can call a guy up, have him, and accrue as much cap space as they want with just 12.
Yeah.
Uh, Even if that guy might be like in Colorado, you're in Denver, like everybody knows he's going to be with the Avs for that day or whatever. So that's where I think is like the roster's in okay shape. We definitely there needs to be something else at center though. This isn't going to be the group.
Yeah, I think it's a little deceiving sometimes because they do need a 3C, or if you believe in Jack Drury, a 4C, whatever.
Yeah,
They need a center, but it's not like they need a center and then everything beyond that needs filling. When you look at that 12th forward
yeah,
spot, they already have Bardakov, Ivan, a handful of other guys as well. Prishchapov, if you want to throw him in there as a potential 12th forward. They got Gushchin over the offseason. They have plenty of guys to show up in camp and battle for that 12th roster spot. It's just
yeah.
more about filling that spot slightly higher up in the lineup.
Yeah, the only thing I can add is I agree. I think what you see is what you're going to get on the back end, right? Obviously, in the net on
Yeah.
the back end. Up front, I mean, obviously, I do believe there's probably one more trade. I agree with AJ there. Now, with that said, what does that do? Does that shake the rest of the lineup on the back end? I don't know. We shall see. Even if it happens or not. On with that said, it makes me do the noise, the cat meow. Great example. Comes in on a PTO, right? And forces their hand a couple years ago, and now he's a trusted guy from Jared Bednar and company, right? So I do believe that there is going to be a couple PTOs. If you look around the league right now, you even see a guy like Milan Lucic that hasn't played almost in, what is it, 2 years now,
Yeah, what is
on a
St. Louis doing?
PTO. St. Louis. Um, you know, again, I'm just saying PTOs are PTOs, right? You try stuff, and why not, right? Because it's like, you got nothing to lose. And if it doesn't work, then you go home. If it works, meow, you get the cat, right? I'm just saying, closest example for the Avalanche. Now, I I don't like the non-competition factor. I think coach will talk about it at the start of camp. He'll be like, "No, there's a lot of competition." I do believe that the competition is more internal, like where you can slot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially with LOC not there for a few weeks to start. Who knows how long it's going to be? But so I do believe that the battles are there. Like Jack Jury, does he want to get a hold of that 3C? Does he want to get a hold of more ice time? Does he want to? Right? No, it's an example, but I think that's where the competition will lie, and then the competition might lie because of the bump up because of the LOC. At the 13th forward, maybe is it going to be Ivan? Is it going to be So there'll be a little bit of a competition there, which makes it for fun, but it's not wide open, and that doesn't for me. It doesn't really bother me what I'm saying, but I like when there's a little bit of internal competition. You know what I mean? So I do believe that there will be some of that. So that's a good thing. It's a championship aspiration team, totally defending San Jose Sharks training camp, right? So I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to see what might be, but I do believe there'll be a couple more tweaks there until it starts.
So you both kind of sound like you're in the camp of you think a trade is coming for that potential forward spot. Does that exclude the idea of a Jack Roslovic as a potential signing for that position? Is Roslovic really the only center left of that caliber in free agency?
Yeah, I think when you say of that caliber, you mean like a guy that's going to be like an impact guy, not like
Yeah,
he could be a
not a
rotational guy
just fill
because
this role.
yeah, because if like we're talking PTOs, like there's a Luke Glendening out there that you could have a conversation about
Well,
who would be a hard
I,
4C, and then that
I
makes Drury your 3C. But like
I'm not
Roslovic is the
expecting
only guy that
Roslovic
you
to
could
get a
sign as a
PTO.
3C.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yes, and that's yeah, that's with Roslovic. He's looking for a multi-year deal, upwards of $3 million. I think that's if those numbers come down to say two years at 2.5 million, I think the Avalanche would be a lot more interested. But um, there are some other factors with Roslovic that I wonder how good of a fit he actually would
Sure.
be here. Where
But even for a guy like Rozovic, from my thinking, I do believe he's got a deal in his back pocket somewhere. You know what I mean? Meaning like, and that team is willing to wait too. Let's say I'm
yeah,
using stupid numbers here. It's at $2 million, but he wants three, and they're like, hey, if you can go get three, we can't give you three. But if you can get three, go ahead, knock yourself out. But you got till like September 15th or whatever. I'm just using, numbers.
yeah,
And I do believe he's got something in his back pocket and then that he can fall back to. And then again, I'm different. I would like for me to go get adjusted to my new team, and like we've seen with Brock Nelson there at Family Sports, and you know what I mean, like just kind of, all right, let's get my life organized here. I'm that way. I'm
yeah,
just maybe different than others, where others are saying, no, I'm just gonna get myself ready like I usually do wherever he trains in the summer, and then it's money found on the ground. If I do find the contract, then I made 500 grand for waiting this summer, which is a lot of money, right? We all know that. But like I said, I do believe he's got something, and then you know,
yeah.
really wants something a little higher,
Makes
Okay.
sense.
something like that.
Yeah, I believe it. I think it's pretty common. I don't think that's all that different than what we saw with Kivy this offseason, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Of
same thing,
Definitely.
seeing
same
what
thing.
opportunity was out there and falling back to the Avs in the end of it. So, yeah, I think worth keeping in mind as we go through the Avs contracts here that there probably is something still to be done, whether it's a PTO, a trade, or a signing, whatever it might end up being. Um, we can jump into their actual lineup though, because I do think this is. I'm curious where your guys' thoughts are, especially on contract evaluations here. I want to go through it because I think it's interesting to see. Everyone always talks about how much of a team is built internally through their own systems versus what they acquire from outside of the organization. Almost all of these are going to fall into they were drafted by the Avs, they were signed in free agency by the Avs, or the Avs traded for them. Kivi Ronta may be the one that's kind of weird that we already talked about, where it was this weird PTO path that he initially came to the team from. But let's just start at the top of the forwards here. Nathan MacKinnon, obviously drafted by the Avs first overall. Not a complicated process there. They did have to win the draft lottery over the Florida Panthers to get that first overall pick. The story there has long been told. Everyone in the fan base that isn't brand new knows that the Avs were divided on who they wanted, but at the time, head coach and co-vice president of hockey ops, I think was the official title for Patrick Waugh at the time, said that they were taking Nathan MacKinnon, and they went with his guy, and it's worked out great. So that's awesome. What's more interesting about the MacKinnon conversation is just a couple of years ago at $12.6 million, he was the highest paid player in the NHL. Now multiple contracts have passed up his contract, and we're seeing the salary cap increase significantly. MacKinnon's good enough that the value of the contract is essentially limitless no matter what you're paying him. But is he actually going to become one of the better high-end contracts in the NHL over the next couple of years?
Yep. That was the advantage of getting him early. They had this last year where they ended up a little leaner on the cap side because it didn't have the big jump yet, but it meant that they don't have to pay him $16 million, $17 million, and now I think over the next like 3 years he'll still be an elite player, and with the cap going up the way that that we already know it's going to. This isn't even speculative. We know how much it's going
They've
to be.
locked it in, yeah.
Yeah, over the next couple of years, that I just think that they are going to be very comfortable with him at that number. You know, uh, you'd love for it to be like 11 million, but at 12.6, it's not. He's worth every penny of it.
Yeah.
He's a top
And
three
then
player
some.
in the NHL. So, in within 3 years, he'll have like the sixth or seventh highest contract in the league. As you said, it's already been surpassed, but we're going to see it surpassed just with next year's free agent class. I think both McDavid and Kaprizov are likely to pass it, and maybe another one or two.
Yeah,
So
certainly in 2 years he won't even be the highest paid Av. So
yeah, it was straight up.
Well, I mean, quickly, you can't win without a cornerstone, right? And
yeah,
he's the one up front. I'm talking about, and you were talking about Barkov. Then look at Florida last 2 years, right? So you're talking about, right? There's a reason there was a debate there. You need a cornerstone to win up front. Jack Eichel in Vegas the year before. So Avalanche, you're talking Bob the Builder. You got the cornerstone. He's not going anywhere. McKinnon is right there, and perfectly built for the foundation.
Yep.
yep, sounds perfect. We do need to hit our first break, so let's make sure we're doing that. You know what? Do you ever actually? I don't know. Never mind. Cancel. This is going to get weird. We're not going to do that. What we're going to talk about is if you here in Denver own or plan to own an investment property. You need to talk to Cake Mortgage if that's the case, because they make it easy to buy, refinance, or take cash out without the headaches. Even if you're a first-time home buyer or first-time investor, Cake Mortgage has you covered. And you don't need to show tax returns or W-2s. Seriously, all they need is to see a lease agreement, or we can just use market rents. Yep, it's that easy, and it doesn't matter if the property is vacant, rented, or a recent purchase, they can make it work. They even offer interest-only loans, cash-out options, and there's no limit on how many properties you own. Try getting that from a big bank. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, first-time investor, or an experienced investor that wants speed, flexibility, and a team that actually knows what investors need, you need to call Cake today. You can jump in at 1-800-EAT-CAKE, or, of course, you can go online as well. You can call that number to get a bigger slice of the American dream, or visit cakehome.com to read our 5-star review and to get started. Be sure to mention DNVR sent you. Cake Mortgage Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Of course, terms and conditions apply. And once you got your home loan all set up, you know what? You should celebrate by going out and going to an event, whether it's a sporting event like the Rockies, who are surprisingly good now, or the next NHL game you want to go to, maybe the alumni game coming up for the Avs. You can get tickets through Game Time, and you can get the cheapest prices out there, whether it be last minute deals or using the Game Time Picks feature. Game Time guarantees you the best price, and if you can find tickets cheaper somewhere else, they'll reimburse your account 110% of the ticket price, which will be $20 less when you sign up with code DNVR on the Game Time app. You can download it with the link down in the description and join over 15 million people that use Game Time to get their tickets, especially on their last minute deals. If you want to wait to the last second, you can save up to 60% off at times buying tickets right before the event starts. And it's not just sports. You can get to concerts, theaters, and more all through Game Time, basically anything that's a ticketed event. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download that Game Time app. Use the DNVR code for $20 off with a new account on your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. Get that Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Continuing through the lineup, two interesting guys next up on the Avs forward core. Number one, Brock Nelson. The Avs initially trade for him at the deadline-ish last season. Pretty hefty price to pay, but they bring him back for an additional 3 years at $7.5 million. Now, most metrics or graphics or whatever you want to call them have this as a bit of an model. Thank you. Have this as a bit of an overpay, which, Nelson's 33. This contract is going to take him to 36. $7.5 million for a 2C is an expensive amount of money. Is there a world where the Avs get enough value out of this deal?
Yes. But I think that it's going to require Brock Nelson's play to be more of what it was, say, 2 years ago than last year. And last year was kind of
goals,
last year was kind of a tough year for Nelson because his line mates were a little odd. The system that he was playing in, a little odd, just for as a fit for him. And I think that when you go from, and I say this a lot, it's no offense to Maxim Siplikov, but that's his most common line mate with the Isles last year. His most common line mate this year could end up being Gabe Landeskog. And I think that that's a meaningful upgrade in like running mate and a guy that meshes well with what he does. But Nelson, like the Avs cannot have a third straight year of thinking going into a season thinking that they might have their 2C
And end up with a 40
sorted
point
out,
player. Yeah.
and then he flops.
Yeah.
And like Ryan Johansson was like a gigantic flop, but he was at the end of his career and there were some injury concerns and they got him for free. So you were like, it sucks, but like, okay. The Casey Middlestat one, they did not get for free, and then they gave him an extension, and then he ceased being a functional NHL player entirely. Like the guy's game completely cratered. One of the more mystifying, like
Yeah. Borderline
absolute just
inexplicable. Yeah.
yeah, like his game, you look at all of his underlying data and you're like, he was never an exceptional player, just a solid, he was fine. He was so far from being fine by the end of his Avalanche tenure. And now, like Brock Nelson, it was kind of a slow start. He had his moments, right? And then the goal scoring wasn't there in the postseason, but you look at what happened with the Landeskog, Nelson, Nichushkin trio when they actually got a couple games
Their
together.
underlying
They
was
started
ridiculous. Yeah.
they were pumping Dallas on a regular basis. They just could not finish. And that's the
Them and
criticism that
everybody
we have
else.
on.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the criticism in that entire series for the Avalanche as a team. They couldn't finish. But the way that they drove play was encouraging. And the majority of their forward core is back. So with Nelson as the pivot, he needs to be good. He can't just be okay. He was too expensive in trade, too expensive in contract, and if he's not good this year, it's only getting worse because of the aging curve.
Yeah.
So this is like we talk about getting the value out of it. The value is a Stanley Cup. Everything else is not good enough. Just flat out not good enough.
Well, what makes a contract, too expensive, from, I mean, whatever you want to call that, right? I mean, it's all relative to what you think is your need. And if you look at him, I think it's more the age and then maybe the third year, right? I mean, okay. But when you're in the Avs window, you have to do it. So
Yep.
it's a no-brainer, right? You know what I
Yep.
mean? So, and if you're San Jose and you do that, yeah, probably the wrong move, right? You're the Avs, you're in that window, you do it, and then if you have to bite the bullet on the third year, it is what it is, right? I mean, because at some point,
Yep.
like, what are you going to do? So, with that said, news came out today, Team USA, he's at the orientation camp, right? This is a valued player around the NHL. He is well valued by teams. He would have gotten that money. It's certainly not an overpay. It would have been an overpay by according to whatever the metrics that were used. It would have been an overpay for any team, right? But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, he would have gotten money. He was getting that money, or more.
What
So
And
happens? Free
I
agent.
do
frankly,
believe
more
that.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody would
exactly.
have
I mean,
given
who
him a
knows,
fourth
right?
year.
Somebody was, hey, who cares? It is what it is, right? Um, but he's a smart hockey player. He brings a lot to what others can't bring. For example, like Casey, totally different player than Casey. You're talking
Very.
about a totally different 2C, than I do believe behind McKinnon, it is the dream job for him to finish his career. I sincerely believe in that. Some guys have made careers out of it, right? Of being behind superstars. And if he can figure it out, he's not asked to be the main guy. So I think he is a lot, and he is the foundation of the Avalanche, starting with McKinnon that we just talked about, right? About the cornerstone. If you have a 2C like that, you're in good shape. The
I,
foundation is really, it's starting to look really solid.
yeah. I think it's pretty clear. The Avs spent a lot of last season with their forward core asking who's the finisher, right?
Yeah.
You had Miko, who at times would just outright refuse to shoot. You got rid of him for Natchez, who is a similar type of player that, while a good shooter, prefers to pass when given the opportunity. McKinnon shoots a ton. Didn't have the best goal scoring year last year. Who else in that lineup was finishing? It wasn't Middlestat. It wasn't really Jonathan Drouin. These are guys that can score, but it's not their preferred way to play. And that's what Brock
Yeah.
Nelson is. Brock Nelson is going to come in and score goals for you. And that's what he has to do on this contract.
I think it's also notable that you look at his time in New York last year, and he had to be a top line guy for them with the Matt Barzal injury, and Bo Horvat's not really like a 1C,
Highest
and so
TOI of
they
his
were
entire career last year in New York.
right, and so he was overextended a little bit on the island at the end because of Barzal's injury issues, and I think that that's a big, like, you can look at the decline from last year versus 2 years ago, and I think that's an obvious line to draw where you say, okay, well, there's some causality here because Nelson's not going to have to do that in Colorado, barring obviously a McKinnon injury. You said it perfectly when you said he's playing behind him. It's a dream job for that guy. He doesn't have to do the heavy lifting. He's not going to go against top defensive pairings. He's not going to go against top forward lines. He's going to get to eat a little bit greedy, and he is best equipped to do that. Since Kadri's departure, this is their best guy to do it.
Yep. And moving into the next guy we're talking about in Landeskog, you put him next to Nelson. Landeskog is the type of player that helps create space for other players on his line. And Nelson is a key player to be able to take advantage of that and use the space given to him to finish plays. With Landy, he's on a $7 million deal. Obviously, the conversation remains, what does it look like in a full season back for him? What type of player can he be? But
yeah,
it's, I don't know. I'm not going to come out and tell you he's a $7 million player and he's going to be worth every penny of his contract this year. But compared to having to jump through hoops and deal with spending that $7 million elsewhere and do all of this extracurricular stuff, does it not make the Avs' life a lot easier to just have that guy in the lineup?
So much easier. He's long been kind of a Mr. Fix-It for them, sort of an eraser of some of their problems because his game is so well-rounded and so versatile. He's really important to their success, not just because of the 7 million, but the way that he plays the game is so well-rounded and thorough across all 200 feet that whoever he's on a line with, their game will automatically elevate. Is he going to score the way that he was scoring the last couple of years before he started missing time? That I think is a tough sell. That I'm not buying that. I'm saying if they get a 25 goal, 55 point season out of Gabe Landeskog, given his all-around game, most likely we are going to be thrilled with that. Like to me, that's worth. If he ends up being a 65 to 70 point guy, then that's nasty. Like you're in very positive value territory there.
I think for him, it's more the emotional side of things, right? You know what I mean?
For
Like
sure.
this game is built on emotions. We all know they lack the Avalanche's presence the last. Forget about the leadership, just the emotional, and not the comeback. I mean, he plays with emotions. And if you don't play with emotions, it's a tough game to win. It's a tough trophy to win. So I think he brings that. And I think what I'm going to do, that's me personally, I'm going to give him 20 games. 20 games. It's not the playoffs. Remember, playoffs are a different animal. You walk in there, the adrenaline rush is crazy. I'm gonna give him 20 games to say, hey, find your space, find your footing, find your, get back into your routine there. I do believe he's gonna be more than fine. Obviously, we had him at our studios, and he looks in great spirits. And I think that it was a great test, the playoffs. I think now we're past that. Now we're like, let's go back to be normal. And I think 20 games, again, it might be a great 20 games. I'm just saying, I'm going to give himself 20 games to just get his bearings and go from there.
Two things there. One, the playoffs clearly proved any given game, Gabe Landeskog is still Gabe Landeskog. He can do it for a game. The question is, what happens when it's 20, 30, 40, 50 games? Can he do it for an entire season? And then the other thing is, ignore the contract value for a second. Look at the Avs' top 6 wingers. In a perfect world, at this point, Landeskog is third, maybe your fourth best winger in your top 6. Certainly expectations for Necas and Nichushkin are they should be better players. And then you can rank Landy and Lehkonen in whatever order you want, in my opinion.
Boo. Tiff, get the boo button going. Somebody, one of our counterparts, I don't remember which, they had like, one of you guys responded. They had the
Oh,
wing.
yeah,
Avs
Travis
wingers
Yost
is
had
like
the Avs tier
third
3,
tier.
which is crazy. Yeah.
Boo. Boo. Get the button going.
I don't mind that because it was not a focus on top 6 wingers. It was a focus on all of the wingers. And right now at the bottom of Colorado's forward core, there are fair questions.
I
don't think tier 3.
So. Yeah, I'm not saying they're
top
tier
6
1.
Is pretty good.
Yeah, it's not like their bottom 6 is that bad. You have Ross Colton. You have Logan O'Connor. Even someone like Parker Kelly, if we're calling him a wing, is it the best bottom six wingers in the game? No. Is Boston's winger core better than them? Absolutely freaking not. Like,
yeah.
Just trying to steer it up.
Anyway, I do want to talk
Let's
about
do that
all
on
these
tomorrow's
wingers.
show.
Yeah,
We can just
pop off.
eviscerate that list. Yeah, it sounds great.
I do want to talk about the rest of the Avs wingers, but we do need to take our break first here. So let's make sure we're paying our bills and not getting booed on that front, as we are brought to you by the amazing folks over at Coors Light. Sometimes it's time to choose chill. I wish the Colorado weather would choose chill. It's so hot here. But if you want to cool off, Coors Light, a great option to do so, whether it's out in your backyard, you're chilling on the couch, or, maybe you're at an event, enjoying a birthday or something like that out at the fields, the parks, I don't know, wherever you live, whatever it is. It's a great time to choose chill. And the coolest part is you don't even have to get off your couch if that's where you're at. CoorsLight.com/DNVR will get Coors Light delivered right to your front door thanks to Instacart. Of course, if you do want to go out, they're also available in pretty much every liquor store in the country. I was back east in Chicago for a while. Coors Light clears Yuengling by like a mile, by the way, for you guys out there. Not even close. It's not even a competition. So go get yourself the Blue Mountain Coors Light. The mountains on the bottle or the can turn blue to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink. Make the most of the times you choose chill and choose Coors Light. Again, get it delivered right to your door thanks to CoorsLight.com/DNVR and Instacart. Please drink responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Once you got your Coors Light and you're chilling, make sure you also go check out Volo. Volo even has, leagues that are cup in hand, so you can drink your Coors Light while you're playing a Volo sport. They've got all sorts of options from soccer, volleyball, pickleball. Man, we out here. Basketball, cornhole, many others, and you can do it all over the city, whether you want to meet new people and make friends or just a different way to stay active and get in shape. Get with Volo at Lodo, Rhino, Highland, City Park, Cherry Creek, South Broadway, more. Even if you're not in Colorado, most major cities have a Volo chapter. And when you sign up as a free agent, small group, or full team, any ability level, use code DNVR10 to get $10 off your Volo Denver League. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. So, I want to do this a little bit.
One second. I just want to say,
ahead.
I'm still convinced. I'm a first rounder in Volo volleyball. Just FYI, carry on.
I believe it.
Carry on.
In the no skill league, the very bottom level of skill league, you'd be a first round pick.
Oh, sure. I'm like Kivy. I'm a cat. I'm quick like a cat. Meow.
Rank in order of value this season: Necas, Nichushkin, Lehkonen.
We're talking contractual value too, that's all. Necas
dollar value comes into play.
Okay. Yeah, has to be Necas. He should score 80 points for you, and at $6 million, $6.5 million, that should be tremendous value. After that, Lehkonen should give you
at 4.5
20 to 25 goals. Yeah. And at $4.5 million, I mean, you're talking like he's never not been way positive value for the Avalanche under that deal. So, given that, he may never leave McKinnon's wing for the rest of his career. Like he's going to continue to be in really advantageous spots to continue with the production. So I think, I would go Necas, Lehkonen, and then Nichushkin. With Nichushkin, I have started to come around to the idea of we've been sleeping on him a little bit. We've been focusing more on a little bit of the decline the last couple of years. And I think that there's a reality that this is his first truly healthy summer since 2021. Because you remember after they won the Stanley Cup, he had to rehab the broken foot. And then he had all of the off-ice problems each of the following seasons. This is his first truly healthy summer where he's healthy and he has no off-ice question marks. Rumor has it he's been doing some
good
really
stuff.
hard work, in his personal life to really get on top of his issues. And he's in the healthiest place that he's been physically and mentally since 2021. And at 6, if he can go back to being that two-way dominant force, I'll give up him being like he's going to score 20 goals in 45 games for you. I want to see a
It's
healthy Val season, and I think that
that's
he could end up surpassing Lehkonen on this, especially if the two-way play comes back around. But right now, I think we have slept on him a little this summer because we have looked at the decline and we have looked at what he hasn't been, and we're not looking at here's a good reason for a bounce back from him. This is the healthiest he's been. This is
yeah.
positive now. Situation is really good.
I think when you look at him, if he can have a healthy full season, he was on a close to 70-point pace last year. That's the big thing. And obviously, him being healthy is maybe a more complicated conversation than someone like Lehkonen being healthy for a full season, which I think is also a valid point. If Lecky can have a healthy season, he's going to provide a good chunk more value than people might think too. But even if Val isn't the turbo elite two-way guy, just playing 75 plus games this year is going to add a ton of value for him for the Colorado Avalanche. So I think Natchez is clearly the number one value guy. I would agree with you there, but I could go either way with Val and Lecky as the next guy.
Yeah, and the only thing I can add about, I mean, Lecky's a dream. Obviously, Natchez is the guy. Like AJ said, you should get 80 plus points. If you don't, that's it. Honestly, that's a disappointing season.
Yep.
He's that good, and he's playing on. Who knows where he's going to play, but you're playing with good players. So somewhere somehow he's clearly at the top. But the other two, like you said, it's like he's a dream, and then the contract's a dream. But Matushkin, it's the words I want to touch on is durability. Obviously, that's just you got to play games, right? You can't be missing 20, 25 games. That's one. And two, I want him to be a hunter again. I want him to see it, feel it every game, hunt pucks, tenacious, you know, night in and night out, and get that consistency level again that we were used to. He did it at times last year, came back, and we all know about his record when he's in the lineup, when the Avs, have him in the lineup or not, and so much is made about it. He is a difference maker. Like he is some sort of a unicorn. He's not a physical guy, but he is a train. He is a choo-choo train. He is massive. He can skate. He can play the puck. He's strong as an ox. But, you know, you need him to get that consistency right now. And then you need him to get back on what his MO was and what everyone knew around the league about him and on the ice I'm talking about, to make sure that you puck drops, you're playing against the big fella. It's going to be a tough shift. You know what I mean?
I
Because he is going to be on you, and he's tough to move, and you better be on top of your game.
To this point about his availability, over the last 4 seasons now, his per 82 game averages are 35 goals and 72 points. That's the rate of production that he's had when he's been in the lineup for the Avalanche. That's at 6 million. That is he would smoke Artturi Lehkonen in value if he could come close to that.
Yep.
And frankly, we're talking about him chasing down Natchez in value if he can stay healthy, provide not even asking him to do more than what he's done, just continue to produce at the rate he has, but across more games, and then try to get back defensively closer to the level. I'm not even asking him to be the elite defensive wing that he was a couple of years ago, but closer to that level. Where right now last year he was below average, and that all of that screams this is a guy that if he can just stay on top of it, stay on the ice, enormously valuable at $6 million. Enormously valuable. Connor Garland signed a $6 million deal this past summer. Enormously valuable, Val Nichushkin.
Yep. A couple of comments in the Toyota chat here. A Wolf saying, honestly, the regular season isn't what I'm worried about. It's the playoffs where these guys need to do their jobs. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, I do agree. I've said that or something similar before on the pod before, but the reality is the playoffs are 10 months away. You have to get through the regular season first. Even if the expectation is the Avs do that and they have the pieces where it shouldn't be a problem, you still have to do it before you get to the playoffs. And then the other question, Travis says, is there anything to the rumor I saw before that Nate just would prefer to be traded out of Colorado? I can't remember what the motivation was. No, completely false. I remember when that was going around. There's no truth to it. Anyway, we go a little bit faster here in the Avs bottom six just because there's less value. The two big ones are Ross Colton at $4 million, Logan O'Connor at $2.5 million. Colton is an interesting one because last year was weird vibes with Colton, right? He had an unbelievable hot streak and then didn't score for 20 games. And also, there was an injury in there. Realistically, his pace last year was fine for a $4 million third line player. I know he played up in the lineup and stuff, but if he played a full season, he was on pace for just 40 points, which is a fine expectation out of Colton. You just like to see him do it a little bit more consistently than being all over the place.
Yeah, it was a tale of extremes for Ross Colton, where he was a Cy Young guy for like 65 games.
Yep.
Where you're like, why can this guy not rack up any assists? And then all of a sudden there was like an 8-game stretch. Yeah, an 8-game stretch in near the end of the season where he had 8 assists in 8 games.
Yep.
Where you're like, there you go. Where's this been? Like, and that's, we're always like, hey, like, you don't really care like who scores the goals necessarily, but you want a well-rounded lineup. And if Ross Colton has no assists, that means the other guys on his line aren't scoring goals very much. And he didn't have enough goals himself to be like a one-track player. Like, you can't be I scored 16 goals and had 10 assists guy at $4 million.
Right. Yeah.
You need to be more well-rounded than that. And just the extremes of Ross Colton last season. He would go even when he had assists. His last 16 games, his last 17 games, he scored 1 goal, and like that's not what you're after. Like,
you need more, but
yeah, you're paying him to give you roughly 20 goals. You can't go nearly a fourth of the season and not score 1.
I mean,
so,
and I think
you kind of can when you started as hot as he did, but.
Yeah, what I'm looking for from him is honestly, and I think that's the expectation, is 20-20-40. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
in an ideal world.
Exactly.
20-20-40. Who knows about the power play time, right? Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, that helps to achieve the 20-20-40. We all know that. But I think it's more the Avalanche went and got him last 2 summers ago with Woody, right? About creating a little bit of buzzsaw chaos, something that was lacking in the lineup. So I think that's where his value is, running the stuff, make plays, being an energy guy, and be able to produce a 5-on-5. You know what I mean? And that for me is what's important for Russ to bring value to the team. If he does that, and I like Ross, then he's brings a lot of value. He just does,
Yep.
and then it's a luxury to have that on, let's say, your third line. I'll call it a luxury.
Yeah,
I think the Avs are in kind of a tough spot because right now Ross Colton's your best player on your third line, and he's not like that kind of guy.
Not going to carry.
Doesn't care.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, I pulled this up out of curiosity. His last 35 games played last season, 3 goals, and 2 of them came in 1 game.
You need more consistency.
And like, you just need to smooth that out. And we know the injuries last year played an enormous role in production out of Colorado's bottom 6 because they were playing, Oscar Olausson gets a game, Ty Felber gets 5 games.
NHL guys, like
right. And like Yoel Kiviranta gives you 16 goals kind of out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, well, you're not getting those again this year.
Yep.
You need, like, Ross Colton, we're talking about value. Ross Colton has to be a 40-point guy for you to feel like there's good value there. Otherwise, if he's a 29-point guy in a healthy season, you got negative value.
That's a problem if it's in a healthy season.
Yep.
The rest of the bottom 6, LOC, we've seen what that contract looks like when it goes bad with Miles Wood, but I don't think there's any reason to believe that's the track that LOC is on. Even with another hip surgery this offseason, LOC has been the
touch on that
epitome of consistency. Yeah, sure, go off.
Yes, just really quick. So what I've heard about LOC in the surgery, that this surgery was not as extensive, as this previous hip surgery, and it's the other hip, but not as extensive. Recovery has gone ahead of schedule. It's going very well. He should miss roughly between 10 and 16 games. So we were talking about him as like a December return. It should be more like early November if things continue at the current
Current
trend.
rate, yeah.
So things look pretty good there. LOC on track with the surgery. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is not, he's dealt with hip injury before. He knows how to come back from it. He's the epitome of consistency on the ice. Not a guy I'm worried about getting the value you expect out of. Drury, kind of an interesting one. We kind of have to go fast here, but at 1.7 million, if he's your 4C, he needs to be one of the best 4Cs in the league. If he's playing up on your third line, pretty easy to get value there, I think. Kibby, we've talked Kibby to death this offseason. We're not expecting him to have the offensive punch he had last year, but that at 1.25 million, it doesn't matter. He's a good enough two-way forward that he's just gonna provide value for you in your bottom six. Kelly this year is still only on 825K, so that contract isn't kicking until next year, where he's essentially just free money. And then you move on to the defense for the most part. Makar is Makar. Again, you could pay him literally the entire cap and it'd be worth it.
$1 billion.
Yeah, you could Dr. Evil it basically, and he'd still be worth it. Taves at 6.25 million or 7.25 million. Sorry. Where's that value at? How do we feel about it?
Good, because again we've started to see some of these contracts exploding. Like, look at what Gavrikov got from the Rangers, and you look at what Devon Taves is getting to be on your top pairing. Now Taves is a couple years older, so you're not like, it's not amazing, right? But the offense was nowhere near as good from Taves as we've seen in the past. That's a concern. Now he scored a whole bunch of points. Like the second half of the season, he I'd have to double check, but he was like 35 points in like 43 games or something like that. Like he was like at a really high rate to make up for the fact that he was glacial to start the year. Given who he shares the ice with most frequently in Cale Makar and Nathan MacKinnon, he has to produce. He doesn't have to be a 70-point guy or anything, but you can't be scoring 9 points in 30 games or whatever. Like that's not acceptable for his role. His defense got way better as the year was going on. It was closer to league average, and then by the second half of the year was back to being high end. He suffers from the Avalanche team-wide defensive problem of struggling a little bit in front of his own net. I think some of that is systemic. I'm hoping that Dave Haxtell rolling on in can at least give them another voice to help with that a little bit. But overall, Taves' value right now, we can have an honest conversation that it probably will not age well. But as of right now, today, this season at 7.25, perfectly fair. I think it's probably still positive value by a good margin. But you don't want there to be a lot of slippage.
Here's what I'll say. I said it about Nelson. I'll say that about him. There's a reason Team Canada already named, right, for the Olympics. A powerhouse country, this guy, man, oh man. I always say, I hate when what?
I mean, I'm not saying Taves doesn't deserve to be on the Olympic team, but him being Cale Makar's partner is the reason he's already named to that team.
Yeah, that's one thing. But I was gonna say, if it goes the other way. If Cale was here, he would tell you you need a guy like Devontae to play with, like high end talent, like Kale. It's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy to play with Wayne Gretzky. It's not easy to play with Nate McKinnon. You know what I mean? I'm being honest. It's not.
Yeah.
Those guys think the game a totally different way. I call that the Hall of Fame like thought process, which they do. They think the game differently. They think it at a higher level than the average player.
Yep.
They think at a higher level than the average defenseman forward. So I do believe that Kale also benefits from playing with a guy like Devon Taves, and that's where the value
Yep.
comes. I agree with you. How does it age? I don't know. But today, this year, I do believe it's a value contract. I mean, I do. For what he brings to the team, Again, he hasn't missed a lot of games, but when he's missed them, you're like, holy bananas. Like, wow, that's a big hole. You know what I mean? Like,
I
you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I do believe there's big value there for the Avs.
what gives me a little bit of confidence about Taves' aging curve is he is arguably the best with his stick in the league when it comes to defending the puck. And generally speaking, the hands are the last thing to go via age. You lose half a step, you can get away with that with good positioning. You lack a little bit of physicality, that's okay. He breaks up plays with his stick. Like we were talking on yesterday's show, give me 3 more good years out of Taves. Give me this
Yeah.
3-year window. The last 2 years of that contract, if it falls off a cliff, whatever. But give me these 3 years. That's all I need.
Yeah, the physical tools for Taves have never been the driver of his success. It's hockey smarts are the biggest thing. That's why he's successful next to Makar. He reads it at such a high level. He understands what's happening around him so well that he is exceptional, and he's the perfect partner.
Yep. Moving down the rest of the forward core, Sam Girard at $5 million. Obviously, there were a lot of rumors swirling about him potentially getting traded this offseason. It ended up not going that way, nor did it happen for Josh Manson. Regardless of how you feel about Sam Girard, in the modern cap, a $5 million second pairing D is a pretty good value.
Yeah. His value, honestly, as the cap has started to blow up, his value just keeps getting better and better. And I think it's gotten harder and harder to entertain the prospect of moving him, especially because they don't have a guy that really replaces him. In an ideal world, Mikhail Guliev comes to North America at the end of this season and going into next season, and shows out, and everybody goes, "Oh my God!"
Gets
And
to be
then you can
Girard
have the
Jr. for a
conversation.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, then you can have that conversation. But until then, you're just not. You're really just not finding that kind of replacement for him. What he does well, like what he doesn't do well, and what he does do well, are so clearly defined that he is one of those in the eyes of the beholder type players. But he has a much larger positive impact on the ice than negative. The problem has been finding a pairing that really works for them, because
Yeah.
Girard and Manson, uh, they produce really solid, consistent underlying numbers where the play goes the right direction the majority of the time, but when they make the mistake, it ends up in the back of their net too often. They're both prone to that, and so playing them together has compounded that problem and made it look significantly worse than it really is. But also, at some point, you just go, "We're 3 years into this. Stop doing that."
That's Brent Burns music.
Yes. Yes. I think we're going to see a healthy dose of Gerard Burns, which, again, defensively, that does not make you tougher, that does not make you meaner, it does not make you harder to play against, other than the fact that you will have the puck a lot.
Yep.
And I'm a big Sammy G fan. You guys know that. I cross my fingers that he's not moving. I cross my fingers that he's not going anywhere. I do believe he brings a lot of value. He does. You notice it. Just look back to 2 years ago when he's not there. It is crazy noticeable when he is out of the lineup. And again, you love him for what he does. You don't love him for what he doesn't do. And that's important. You know what I mean? Because I think what he does outweighs what he can do. And what he can do is we all know the size. Well, great, awesome. I'm not arguing that. Everyone's not
Yeah,
arguing that. That's not why he's on your team, or else he wouldn't be there. He's on your team because he's elite at retrieving puck. He's elite at skating, and he's a great guy. He's a simple guy, and you know what? Loves being an Avalanche. So I mean, for me, that's right there outweighs anything else. Now, if you had 5, 6 guys at 5'10", and yeah, I get it on the back end. All of a sudden you're too small. I think that they don't have that many small guys. I don't want to hear Kale McCarr small. Kale McCarr's a unicorn. He's the best player on the planet. It's irrelevant. And by the way, they say he's 5'11". Kale McCarr. There's no way. He's got to be 6 foot. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I never see it that way. But um, And then all of a sudden, you can see that they've gone, a little bit bigger with the Middletons and the depth, right? The Middletons and the Gagny yesterday. And, you can tell they're getting a little bit more size. At the end of the day, it's not like the Avalanche are small on the back end. So, you know what? I made my case for him. Let's go
I
send him.
mean, I know
With
he's
Burns
not
and
that
Middleton right
physical
now, the
anymore.
average,
Yeah,
come on.
Burns is 6'5", 230. Even if he doesn't use that physicality necessarily, he helps the
Exactly. And
small
Middleton's what,
conversation.
6'5"? He's got Middleton 6'5", right?
He's like
Something like
6'7",
that.
6'6". Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. I'm just saying their average is Josh Manson's not small. Devontae is not a small player. I mean,
I would.
all of a sudden your average
I
is up there.
also one thing about Sam Girard's game that I think is wildly underrated by all of us. Really, it's not something we talk about. Really steady shot blocker,
True.
and basically almost all of the games that he has missed, in like the majority of games that he has missed in his career, outside of the broken sternum in the postseason, have been player assistance program related, not actual injury related.
Yeah.
So his availability is there, but a steady shot blocker. Last year he was 75th amongst defensemen in block shots. So,
Solid.
like not a physical guy, but he's good with the stick. He's a smart player, solid positioning. Like and his offensive production, as we've talked a lot about, it would be way better on other teams where he gets to run a power play unit. That's not the case in Colorado. He's just kind of stuck behind some prolific point producers. So,
Yep. Winding down here, the only one that's really a big conversation left is Manson. Burns at $1 million is a free roll. Even if he sucks, you go, okay, well, it didn't work out, whatever. Malinsky at 1.4, you'd like to see him play
even at
well.
4 million.
Yeah, right. It's
like,
gonna be
'cause
4 million,
Burns
assuming it
will
doesn't go
end up being a $4 million.
disastrously. Right. Yeah. Unless
Yep.
he really gets hurt immediately or something.
Yeah.
It's fine. A totally fine role. The 3 million of that 4 million is probably next year's Caps problem, depending on how you feel about it. Malinsky at 1.4, not a big deal. That conversation is more of a what does he want next season. And then arguably the worst value contract on the defense is Josh Manson, who you did extend for 2 more years for slightly cheaper than what he's getting paid this season. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad contract for Manson, but availability is the massive, massive problem there.
Yeah. As a Josh Manson, an underrated player with the puck, defensively does a lot of what you want. He's too penalty prone. And I think the penalties and the availability are the big problem. He does some silly stuff sometimes. Like there's some real chaos to his game. He is maybe the player most prone to variance out of the Avalanche defense.
To our earlier point, for the playoffs that he's actually been in for the Avs, there's been a significant step. He's been one of the Avs' better playoff players every year that he's been here. So a feather in his cap there too.
Yep.
Blackwood, it's fine. You're paying a starting goaltender salary. You're not really overpaying. He has to go out and earn it every year still, but no issues there. That's pretty much it. Wedgwood's a backup for 1.5 million. Fine. Yeah.
Where does he rank salary wise?
I'd have to look.
Blackwood.
We don't have time to look. Yeah.
Not sure.
Because I think it's like it's like somewhere like 16th or something. Like it's not high.
Yeah, perfectly
and
middle.
As other deals get signed, other deals get signed, you'll see.
Dustin Wolf.
Yeah, the value of it will get better as long as he actually is the man.
Yep.
Dustin
I would
Wolf
agree with that.
is going to be above him.
Last question of the show, boys.
Value on Wedgwood is worse.
Yeah, but it's a backup goalie for 1.5. I'm not particularly worried about that.
Yeah.
Last question of the show. Go to Taco Bell order?
Never
Mine's
had
a potato.
Depends on the day, brother.
I'm a potato and cheese burrito guy, to be honest. But whatever it is, DNVR has partnered with Taco Bell now. So you can go in. You can go get the Buffs box. It's a whole meal that comes with the commemorative collectible cup of a Buffs player. Go get it. Taco Tuesday or whatever they call it. Jump in with
I'll do
Taco
this
Bell.
weekend.
There you go. You can have Taco Bell for the first time,
Yes, sir.
Go check them out.
Tiff.
It's cool sponsorship. I think it's dope. We are done for the day, though. We hope everyone enjoyed the conversation. We'll be back tomorrow. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, and we will see you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.